Welcome to the Court of History. I'm Sean Wilentz with my co-host Sidney Blumenthal, and we're here to talk about Sidney's latest piece, which appears in the New Republic. Sidney, there was a party at Mar-A-Lago or just about exactly a month ago, which you have said is going to be looked back upon by historians as an important turning point. There aren't too many parties like that, as far as I remember as an historian. What did you mean? What was the party, and why was it important?
Well, what I wrote, Sean, is that historians of the future will mark October 31st, which was
Right.
Halloween Eve, as the date, which was the date of Trump's Great Gatsby party at Mar-a-Lago, as the moment where Trump basked in glowing adulation and complacency like a sultan, as his peak moment of obliviousness before the political deluge. This was followed within days by the November 4th elections that showed his repudiation. And since then, it's been downhill, and he's been involved ever since in a cascade of unpopularity and scandal.
Well, that's saying something a lot, or saying a great deal. Well, let's go back to the party itself, though. Okay, this was advertised. It was performed as a great Gatsby party. Well, do you think that Donald Trump actually has read? Well, forget about whether he's read, whether he's even aware of who Jay Gatsby was and what that novel is all about.
If he saw the movie or the movies, either the Leonardo DiCaprio or the Robert Redford versions,
Right.
He didn't get it.
No, I guess not.
And he didn't figure out who he was in the movie or who Gatsby was either.
No, that's right.
So he threw this Gatsby party as a kind of dress up thing where it was, if he had any thought in his head, that was the Roaring Twenties.
Right.
He's reenacting the Roaring Twenties and his MAGA royalty are like the bright young things of the Gatsby era. Of course, they're the exact opposite. They are the cavalcade of the mummies.
Explain that.
Well, there's a phenomenon going on here in Washington where plastic surgeons have had so many customers of Trump people. They all want the same thing, and they want the same immovable face, exact same face, and the plastic surgeons in Washington have referred to it as the Mar-a-Lago face. And at Mar-a-Lago, that's face forward. That's the face that marches in, face after face, as opposed to Gatsby's parties, as described by Fitzgerald, imagined by Fitzgerald, which was his view of what happened in the 20s, where the bright young things, as they were called, would spontaneously show up at Gatsby's mansion on Long Island, and jazz bands would suddenly play, and the champagne would flow, and there would be a mix of all kinds of strange people. And rarely would you see Gatsby. He was the most mysterious person there. He would sometimes make an appearance. Just described by Fitzgerald in the novel.
Yeah. Well, holding aside the novel for a second, though, I mean, the Roaring Twenties, do they have any idea of how the Roaring Twenties actually ended? I mean, talk about before the deluge. This all looks like someone staring out into as if this party was going to go on forever.
Yeah, the best epitaph of the Roaring Twenties was, given by Roosevelt in 1936. We said, 9 years, worshiping the golden calf,
right.
And then, years in the breadline, because the 20s led to the crash and the Great Depression. And this Gatsby party took place at a fraught moment too. I mean, it was in the middle. It was the 30th day of the government shutdown, which Trump would not resolve. And the issue that brought it about, he still doesn't want to resolve, and that is the hikes in premiums under the Affordable Care Act for ordinary people that are affecting 22 million people, often making healthcare unaffordable for ordinary families. And millions are going to lose their coverage or have minimal coverage, and it's going to stretch their budgets to the breaking point. And at this moment that Trump's royalty, MAGA royalty, are celebrating, the Great Gatsby party at Mar-a-Lago, more than 1 million government workers were going without their paychecks. And 42 million people were about to be deprived of food.
Basic food.
Basic food, including 16 million children under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. And it was about to be cut off the next day.
Oh, right. Nothing more. Well, we've seen that this is dramatized since the shutdown. Dramatized the arrogance of wealth, the arrogance of billionaire wealth, and the contrast. I mean, it's not just a matter of people of the rich lording it over the poor, but it's the rich setting the course for a complete disaster, precisely because of those differentials. The greater that they fatten on that in this kind of grift economy, the worse it is for the economy, the worse it is for everybody. But it certainly dramatizes the distance. But let's go back to the novel for a sec, do you mind? I mean, I'm wondering.
No, always good.
The novels. So, all right. In your column, you do your best, Sidney, and that's a lot. You do your best to try and trace the party onto the novel, to try and see who really is Jay Gatsby here, and
right.
and Jay Gatsby, who wasn't always often at his own parties, certainly wasn't at Mar-a-Lago on Halloween night.
He is the missing man at Mar-a-Lago. Gatsby's the missing man at Trump's Great Gatsby party, but he's been present at other Mar-a-Lago parties.
Yes, he has.
Run by Donald Trump. And that man, a self-invented man, a self-created man, a man of mystery. We don't know where his wealth came from. We don't know what he's doing. That man is Jeffrey Epstein. And he is the missing man at the Mar-a-Lago party. And somehow he had not been forgotten, nor had he been forgiven. And he's still present. He's still haunting that party.
Yeah.
He's a spectral presence.
Yeah. Well, like Jay Gatsby, he came to a very bad end. A very bad end.
Yeah. Well, Gatsby comes to a bad end in the novel, as we know.
That's what I mean. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
He winds up shot dead by a car repair guy who thinks Gatsby's screwing his wife, whereas in fact it's another character, Tom
Buchanan. Tell us about Tom Buchanan and how he fits into the Trump
Tom
world.
Buchanan and his wife Daisy are people who Fitzgerald says make musses and chaos and leave it all behind for others to clean up. Who does that remind you of? Well, it turns out that Tom Buchanan also holds risque, louche parties at the Plaza Hotel in New York, once owned by Donald Trump, who also held similar parties at the Plaza. And Tom Buchanan is a lout. He's an entitled heir. He inherited his money. And he is a believer in, if you can believe it, the Great Replacement theory.
Explain.
And he talks about how the white races are going to be pushed out by these lower ethnic people and races. And it was that is when this period in the 20s is when that theory was invented and took off.
And became policy in some ways in 1924, right?
Well, it became policy in the United States as immigration policy, virtually cutting off immigration to Eastern Europe and and to Southern Europe. Um, if you were Italian or Greek, or you were a Jew from Eastern Europe, you couldn't get in after
Right.
24. And that theory eventually made its way to, in following the history of ideas outside this article, it made its way to Adolf Hitler, who read the works involving Great Replacement theory, and it is all over Mein Kampf, and really the theoretical basis of Mein Kampf, and his anti-Semitism. And of course, the Tom Buchanans of the 20 were, virulently anti-Semitic. In
Absolutely.
any case, if there's anyone who resembles Tom Buchanan in the novel, it is of course Trump. And if anyone resembles Gatsby, it's Epstein.
Wow. And does Daisy figure into your plotting as well?
Well, I don't think so. Daisy is a kind of wispy wasp.
She's not. Melania is not Daisy. Is not Daisy.
No, no. Melania is a very hardened character, and Daisy. Daisy, in the end, though, shares a certain characteristic of Melania, which is, you remember that jacket she wore?
Yeah.
I don't really care.
I don't care. Do you, or something?
I don't really care. Do you? Daisy has that attitude too.
Yes.
So
yes.
Basically, she's privileged and she doesn't care. And poor Gatsby does care. He's in love with her. He wants to win her over. He had an affair with her before she married Tom Buchanan. And so it's a star-crossed romance. He winds up dead. Epstein doesn't wind up in the Mar-a-Lago pool, but he winds up, hanged in his jail cell. And he and Donald, of course, lived a mile apart in Mar-a-Lago and cavorted together often in parties featuring a whole procession of changeable models.
So there is a kind of historical, what should we say, justice or literary justice to this, except it's all twisted. It's all turned inside out. They have no idea that what they're reenacting.
They have no idea, or what they're evoking, or the connotations of what they're doing, or the historical resonances. When you invoke the Roaring Twenties, we know what happened afterwards, and it was not a Hollywood ending.
Not a happy ending. But this style that you talked about the Mar-a-Lago look, or whatever they're calling it, the plastic surgeons are calling it. He's trying to generalize this, and I couldn't help but think about what he's done to the White House. I mean, the pictures that I've seen coming out of the White House are really quite shocking, just because it looks like he's trying to turn Washington, D.C. into Mar-a-Lago on the Potomac.
Yeah, in this piece, I say, with Trump, style follows dysfunction. And if you remember the great architect Louis Sullivan, he said form follows function.
Right.
But with Trump, it's style follows dysfunction. And he has the taste of a Eastern European or Middle Eastern tyrant.
Yes.
Maybe even worse than this era. And
some people have said they compared it to Saddam Hussein's place, and Saddam Hussein's place looked classy compared to Mar-a-Lago.
Listen, I urge listeners and viewers to go online and look at Liberace's house, and you will see that it is much more tasteful than anything Donald Trump has done. I mean, with Trump, he just throws the gold appliques everywhere on every space. What he's done to the Rose Garden is just symptomatic of everything. He's paved over Jackie Kennedy's Rose Garden and put in tables and sun umbrellas, the same colors and design as Mar-a-Lago, and it's a place for lobbyists.
Right. Exactly. For people to make deals. It's a deal-making operation, which is
you got to,
right?
in a sense, you have to become a kind of member to the White
Yeah.
House. In other
Right.
words, you pays your money and you gets in.
Right. But there's also a sort of, what should we say, a faux tinsel quality to it, right? It's not really solid. It's built on solid stuff, but itself is tinsel, and it's the kind of economy that he's trying to construct, which is based on grift. But it's tinsel for everyone else, and it's all going to come crashing down.
Yeah,
Extraordinary.
yeah. It's Gatsby's style was very different than Trump's,
I was
actually.
going to ask you about that. Yes.
Yeah, Gatsby, who in reality was a poor Minnesota farm boy,
Right.
presents himself as a faux aristocrat. And he imports his clothes, especially his shirts, from London, which
Mm-hmm.
is the famous scene he shows to Daisy and throws him around how expensive his shirts are.
Turner and something. Turner and Ash Bull. Turner and I forget. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
something, whatever it is. And he he speaks in a sporting language of as though he had been in a club, private, an exclusive club in an Ivy League college, which of course he never attended college. So yet another um, parallel to Jeffrey Epstein, who never graduated college.
But who showed up at Harvard all the time and tried to make it
Yeah,
out as if he
who
was.
was you can find him wearing the Harvard T-shirt, smiling at Alan Dershowitz all the time online.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
so his style was he wanted to be classy. He wanted to be upper class. He did not want to be perceived. Donald Trump does not understand that his so-called classiness is very much downscale.
Yeah. I mean,
You
it's
know what he reveals about himself. He puts gold stencil outside the Oval Office, which was built by Theodore Roosevelt. Now, I had an office for 4 years in the West Wing,
I remember it well.
and you visited me many
The
times.
old
And
barbershop.
it's
Yes.
very unobtrusive, the West Wing, as part of
Yeah.
the White House, and it's hard to even see from the outside. And it was built by Theodore Roosevelt under his aegis, who railed against the malefactors of great wealth. And he would have wanted to have thrown these money changers out of this temple. So,
Indeed. Indeed. And well, and the whole of Washington, really, going all the way back to the beginning, is based on a sense of classical understatement. I mean, that's
well,
what class
the
really
White
amounts to.
House, the Capitol, but especially the White House, was designed plainly on purpose to avoid, monarchical
Trappings.
ostentation,
Yeah.
and it evoked the Roman Republic, if you can keep it, all of that, and it was
Right.
very much in the Federalist style.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's the opposite of the Byzantine, you know, uh, uh, applications that Trump is sticking everywhere, all over it.
Right. Well, one last question before we have to wrap up. It's now a month since that party occurred in Mar-a-Lago, and you talked about this being a turning point. Can we really see this now? I mean, are there signs that the thing is really cracking up? People have said, you can never corner Trump because he always gets away. Have things turned in a way you think that that may not be true this time?
I think the magic is gone, and that people, so long as they felt they might get something out of Trump, particularly a Midas touch, which relates to why he puts gold everywhere.
Sure.
Uh, um, Apart from that particular MAGA faithful or religious zealots,
Hmm.
somehow was King Cyrus
Hmm.
and weird Trump theology. Those people are gone, and he cannot reproduce the conditions that led to his reelection, which were unique, unusual, required him to be the outsider fighting against inflation, the Supreme Court lifting all of the criminal obstacles for him in the courts involving his criminal liability, and Joe Biden's aging problem and the transition within abrupt transition within the Democrat, all of that.
He has to own it all. Yeah.
And now he and the Republicans own all this, and he actually inherited it's not as if he inherited a bad economy. On the eve of his election, The Economist ran a cover saying the greatest economy in the world, about the U.S. economy. And Jay Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, said we were about to have the fabled soft landing with inflation going down and unemployment going down. All at this, everything was, we're going to have the soft landing, and then Trump gets in, and it is his policies that are responsible for these economic problems that ordinary people are facing through his tariffs, which are inducing an inflationary effect, and also in small business, which are hurting farmers. The increase in prices that people face, and it's a complex economic crisis he's created, which is subsumed under the word affordability. But that doesn't get at the whole nature of his perverse, would-be policies. I mean, even his immigration policy is damaging the economy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And damage is, and having cut off immigration, he's also disproved his ridiculous nativist theory that if you that somehow immigrants are taking jobs of Native Americans.
From
people who
from
are
good white people, basically.
Yeah, this is because unemployment's going up, and they've destroyed the data system providing unemployment.
How do we even know?
Yes,
how do we even know these things? Yes,
we don't, and they don't want us to know what's going on. But people do know because they feel it in their lives, and that's why it's being reflected in these elections. And the only way out that people have is to turn to the other party in a binary system, binary political system. And that party is the Democratic Party. And the Democrats have, they're there.
They're doing well. I mean, generically in the latest polling, they are trying.
I think Trump is, after 10 months, he created no mandate for himself. He didn't use this period to create a mandate. He didn't have one when he came in. He won by 1.5% of the vote. He's governed by emergency powers. He hasn't governed by actually presiding over the passage of legislation, except the one big, beautiful bill, which will crush his base and working class people, as it's being affected. And already its effects, even though they postponed the Medicaid draconian cuts till after the midterms, is already being felt as regional and rural hospitals are closing in anticipation. So people's lives are really being drastically and negatively affected, and they know it. So Trump's magic is dissolving before our eyes. And the moment when he celebrated himself as invulnerable and omnipotent was at this party, right before that vote on November 4th, which revealed the deluge that's coming. It was a Marie Antoinette moment. There were parties, actually, historically, at Versailles. That
let him eat cake. The famous
Let them eat cake party which she apparently didn't say, but
No, but
there
never
was
mind.
such a party
Yes, there
at
was.
Versailles in defiance of the rising of the French Revolution. So there are historical parallels,
Absolutely. And
you
if
know.
you go, dictator style is also faux Versailles. They try to, put all the mirrors in. They try to make it all look very glittery.
That's
There
the
is
nice
a real
side,
parallel.
and uh, the style is quite beautiful, if dazzling.
If you're
I've
into that.
been in the Hall of Mirrors, and I've even eaten there.
No, I know
It's
the
a great
Versailles,
lunch.
but this is their idea of what a grandeur, and for this particular faux Versailles style, and they try to imitate it, and all they come up with is glitz, and it's very,
Yeah.
very
Marie
superficial.
Antoinette could have taught Trump a lot about style, by the way,
Absolutely,
because she liked to dress down, actually,
she
and
was
dress
yeah.
as a milkmaid, or
She had
something.
she had the Trianon, which she would go to and be your milkmaid. That's right. It
Yeah,
was peasant chic was her idea. This is nothing
yeah,
that's going on these days.
yeah. And it's the opposite of Trump. She did not want to be ostentatious in that way. Her little theater, her petite theater at
Yes,
Versailles, is incredibly beautiful and tasteful, by the
yes,
way,
yes,
and nothing at
yes.
all like what Trump does to
Right. To the
places.
White House and elsewhere. All right. Well, on that note, the note of dysfunction follows style or style follows dysfunction, we're going to have to bring to a close this session of the Court of History. The Court of History, on the behalf of myself and for Sidney Blumenthal, the Court of History is now adjourned.
In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.